On this day, fighting for our freedom, fighting for our freedom, we take you, we take you.
Now in our song, there's a couple of words that tell us what veterans are. Veterans are brave. Can you see another word in there that tells what veterans are? Allison? Veterans are strong. Very good. Now remember yesterday we were learning about the theme of the week was learning about veterans, but our social studies standard is actually how heroes influence American culture. So because it's near Veterans Day, I chose that type of hero to focus on for the week. And then because I chose veterans, then I could use a lot of specific vocabulary to help with the ELD students and improve their writing. I use the front loading of the text and chants and stories to help them get a context for the vocabulary so that they have a place to start when they start building the vocabulary. So we start with what they know and then add what they are learning so that then the rest of the week they can practice with that vocabulary over and over again. Another way that we can describe veterans is on our chart up here too. Veterans are brave. Now, can you think of some other words that we can use to describe veterans? Kaylani?
Veterans are they're kind to animals.
Can we just say they're kind? Can we think of another word that describes veterans? Native?
They save people.
They can save people. So how do they do that? The first day, after we read about heroes, then the students made a list of things that heroes do in general. And then I narrowed that into veterans, and I asked them to describe veterans. And so I was teaching them that an adjective is a describing word. It tells how big or how small or what size or what color. So then in order to keep everybody engaged, I gave them a Post-it, and they were able to write one of the adjectives maybe they had heard when we talked about heroes, or maybe they had in their experience. So they were all able to write an adjective and then put it on the chart. Then I took those adjectives and condensed them into our list on our sentence pattern chart of the adjectives that I really wanted them to focus on throughout the week. So first we're going to describe the veterans with some of the words that you wrote on the adjective chart. So we're going to use the red. Remember, the red words when we make our sentence pattern chart are for the adjectives. Remember that adjectives describe. They tell what color, how tall, how small, how big, what shape. So some of the words that you wrote on the adjective chart, you wrote brave, you wrote strong, you wrote powerful, you wrote kind. What's another word for kind? Good.
And caring.
Caring. I like that because it goes with our IB profile, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. The sentence pattern chart to me is the foundation of teaching an ELD student how English sentence structure works. So I'm forcing them to use adjectives first. So we start with the adjective and then I give them the noun. Then we go on to what does that person or group of things do. So then we go on to the verb. I think the colors and having a pattern, a predictable pattern, helps the ELD students with just another indicator when they see a word that they know that that's going to be a describing word, especially when the adjective is coming before the noun. They see that it's red and they need to put a describing word there. Remember that adjectives are the red ones. They're the describing words. Brave, strong, powerful, kind, good, caring.
Powerful.
Jose picked powerful. All right. And Isaac, can you choose a different adjective? Remember that adjectives are the describing words. They tell about the veterans.
Strong.
All right, so powerful, strong veterans. And Kiana, can you tell us what they do? Remember, the green ones are the verb. They're the action. Carry, work out, protect, help, fight, defend.
Defend.
Defend, all right. We'll stick that right here. Mohammed, can you pick a place for us? Around the world, in cities, from the ground, or over the clouds?
3, 2, from the ground.
From the ground, all right. Ready, set, go. Strong, powerful veterans. Strong, powerful veterans. Strong. After we create the chart with the different columns, then I let the students choose a couple of adjectives, and then we say the sentences in a song form just to make it a little bit more engaging for them. And I can show them that no matter how we manipulate the adjectives, they're still describing that noun. And we can change the verb and it'll still make sense. And then after we've practiced it a little bit, they go to their seats and start writing. And I've given them a template because I found that when I asked them to go to their seat and write without that template, they still went to their comfort zone, which is I like, I see, they're my favorite, instead of using the adjectives and the verbs that we just charted. So today, we're going to cooperate. Remember, cooperate means work together. We're going to cooperate to write a paragraph about veterans. So let's start by singing our veterans song so we can remember some of the facts about veterans. Ready? The second day, or actually in my normal routine, it's the third day, we review the input charts, the vocabulary, the chants, and the songs, just to have them practice with that vocabulary again. And then they go back and start collaborating with their table and how to write a sentence. So I tell them, you have to discuss with your group, you have to listen to your group and contribute, and then every person in the group has to write part of the sentence. And so I give them a different color of marker for each person so I can make sure that each person got to write part of the sentence. That prevents the leader from taking over, and it allows the ELD student to know what their job is going to be and have safety, that they're not going to be struggling. Red table, let's read red table. Ready? Soldiers are powerful and strong. Let's see if that will fit right here. Yes. All right. Now, before we do anything else, I need you to look for two things. I need you to look at every sentence and make sure that each sentence begins with an uppercase letter and ends with a period. When they come back to the carpet, then they all put their sentence strips in the pocket chart. At this point, it's relatively early in the year. The sentences are very basic. So the first thing we edit for is beginning with a capital and ending with a period. Today, you're going to write your own story about veterans. Remember when we made our plan yesterday afternoon? We put facts that we've learned. We put some of the adjectives that we've learned about veterans. We put some of the verbs that we've learned about veterans. We're going to use those today to write a paragraph about veterans. So what I need you to do right now is walk. The last day of the series of lessons is always independent writing. So first, we review again the charts and all of the vocabulary. Then I model how I would write about the topic. So in this case, I modeled how I would write about the veterans, what they look like, what they do, why it's important, because this genre was a description. Then I let them write independently. And so then I just walk around and make sure that they're focusing on that vocabulary. And I sometimes have to redirect them to go away from their safety zone, which is, I like the veterans, I see the veterans are cool. Yes, ma'am. Veterans.
Veterans are brave. Here's another sentence. They are strong and they fight for our freedom. They save us too.
Nice. Nice. Give me 5. All right, here we go, Ellis.